Hi everyone, thank you for joining us again for another webinar this week. My name is Sonia Siddiqui and joining us again today is Dino DeMarco. Hi Dino.
Hello everyone.
So Dino's back with another very informative webinar and he's going to be talking about how to network in the financial industry.
Well, thank you very much and welcome. I just want to again take this opportunity to thank on behalf of RBC and ACCES. It is my pleasure to participate in today's seminar. My goal is to help add value in your career aspirations and so on. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I've been in the retail banking industry. Actually, there it says 30 years. I just did the calculation over the weekend. I think it's close to 35 years in the industry. Last 25 or so years in retail as a retail branch manager, managing people and so on. I was fully accredited with my designations and so on, very results oriented. I take a lot of pride and I take a lot of initiative in developing people, very actively involved in with new recruiting and so on. I also do some work with Seneca College's bridging program. I think ACCES is doing a fantastic job. The other thing and the other reason why I find today's seminar very interesting and very passionate for myself, I've been very fortunate. We've built an extensive network in the markets that I've worked for, both in recruiting and building businesses once I was established in my career. And I sincerely hope that today I can add some value to that skill set. Networking is a hugely important skill set that future employers are looking for. And then once established in your employment, it'll help you be successful. So I sincerely hope you'll pick up some information. I want to share some insights on what's worked for me in the past, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Dino. I'm going to move forward. Here you are.
Perfect. Okay, so networking in the financial service industry, or what we commonly refer to in our business, is building.
Sorry, Dino, could you move closer to your microphone?
Oh, okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you very much.
Okay. So networking in the financial service industry, or is what we call building your centers of influence. You might be thinking, well, why do I want to build my centers of influence right now if you are someone that's looking for a position? Well, it's very, very important to have access to this skill set. Employers are constantly looking for different skills that are above and beyond what the traditional anticipated skill set for a position is. And networking and building those centers of influence is one of those skills that will make you more marketable, that will make you stand out. Business and employment opportunities are done between human beings. That's the way we transact. That's the way we build businesses. So by building a network or centers of influence, helps us in accelerating our success. The more people we meet, the bigger the ideas and the lucrative opportunities of being successful in the industry. Individuals that have influence on many of life's aspects. That's the official description of centers of influence. Establish those centers of influence with selective groups, then further expanded as the opportunities present themselves. So what is a center of influence? It could be anything. They can be both professional, non-professional. You think of accountants, lawyers, and so on. But we don't want to restrict ourselves to that type of area. So you look at community groups, those are centers of influences, or those are networks to explore, charitable organizations, associations. And the beauty of building that network or that center of influence is it helps build alliances, not only in the short term to achieve a short-term goal, but more importantly, that alliance, that network, that center of influence helps in establishing your long-term goals and long-term benefits. So if we can go. So why are COIs important? Why is it important? Increases the possibility of achieving your goal. So we're looking for employment, building that network, building that center of influence group dramatically increases the opportunity of you being successful in finding gainful employment. Once that has been established and you are in your business, that networking or those COIs become integral in helping you meet the goals of the position. There's going to be all sorts of targets, goals, and objectives that you're going to have to meet. And again, because business is done between people, although with the advent of technology and so on, it's the people, it's the one-to-one network. And those COIs become very, very important. What it also does, the other reason why they are important or a network is important, it helps cultivate new ideas. Almost like the meeting of the minds. The more people that I am associated with, the more people that I'm interacting with, the more people that I have relationships with, the likelihood of more ideas coming to the forefront. They boost, there's no question about it, they boost your marketability. They boost your credibility, which is incredible. Testimonials from centers of influence or a network that you build up. Word of mouth is one of the most important aspects that type of relationship will bring. References, past good experiences, those kinds of things coming from one of your centers of influence or a member of your network are incredible. And studies, like I said, studies have actually shown that obtaining each COI increases your likelihood to succeed sixfold. So that's phenomenal. And again, in today's competitive environment, any advantage that we can get under our belt or any other tool that we can put into our belt, especially something that's going to increase my potential for success sixfold, is something that's invaluable. Remaining in contact with your COIs, it establishes lifelong support networks. Again, long-term relationships. So you may be mid-career, you're looking at some other type of career. Those networks become an integral part and parcel of that whole strategy. The ability to draw on your network over all periods of your career path. Sometimes what happens, or actually a lot of times, what happens is those COIs become personal centers of influence. Friendships are built and so on. Now, obviously, we always have to be careful and walk that fine line between a business and friendship type of relationships. But I've seen a lot of times my centers of influence and members of my businessing network have become personal friends of ours. And that support line is there. Future opportunities, future links. Again, the more people that you know, the more opportunity. And what it does, going back to obtaining new ideas, the information age is incredible, and there's no way that any one of us can keep abreast of what's going on in our specific industry. With a network, a good, strong network or COI, you can use them as a center of information. So if you'd like to find out what's going on in a particular industry, or maybe you're looking at changing a career path and so on, well, a good network or a good COI may have other connections in the new industry that you're looking at and can be drawn upon to give you some guidance there. So, some habits to build your COIs. 7 habits of highly connected people. We human beings are creatures of habit and patterns. And that applies to building your COIs, building your networks, getting into a habit of executing on some of these practices helps your success rate, the success of developing a worthwhile network, and so on. So as an example, let's just quickly go through some of these. The first one, be proactive, create a compelling story. A COI or a network isn't going to fall in our lap. We have to proactively go out and, one, establish what the parameter is going to be, what we're going to be looking for, and proactively go out and do it. Look to get into different community groups. Look to meet people. The one thing to keep in mind when you're at this stage or at the beginning stage, first impressions are very, very important. So you want to make sure that you've developed or defined the criteria for establishing the relationship. So if your criteria is finding employment in the financial service industry, and I want to build my network, or I want to build my centers of influence there. Establish that criteria, finding a network in the financial service industry, list who you think could be some opportunities to develop that network. So you may want to start going into branches in a specific area, you may want to start meeting certain people, and so on. So you have a very, very clear goal, and then actually do it, like proactively. Set that criteria, and keep in mind, I don't recall the exact number, but I think something to the effect that the first impressions within the first 7 seconds or something is when we form our opinion of someone. So that first impression is very, very important. Along that, tailor your message to the COI. Determine what the network is and tailor your message. Why do you want to build that network with that COI or that networking member? Dino, I'd like to get to know a little bit about the banking industry. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to chat or if we can get together for a coffee. So you want to tailor your message specifically to the network. Very, very important. Again, because we're interacting with humans. One secret is position a mutual benefit. Yes, you want to build your network or your COIs in order to help you achieve your goal. Fantastic. Keep in mind, there's a human being on the other side. That interaction and that relationship, in order to be successful or improve your odds of being successful, you want to position it so that it's mutually beneficial. Some compatible goals and compatible strategies, because that enhances the buy-in of that person that you'd like to bring into your center of influence. Position the value that you bring. What specific value do you bring to the network, to that center of influence, to that interaction? Chemistry. Chemistry is very, very important because human beings relate that way. The chemistry, our disposition that we bring to it is hugely, hugely important. Identify your niche, number 2. Begin with the end in mind and identify your niche. Be specific on what area you want to focus on. So if it's the financial service, target those specific people and keep the end in mind. My goal is to meet 3 bank managers. So you want to be able to keep that goal. Now you may not meet or you may not get those 3 bank managers in your centers of influence or in your network on your first attempt. You may have to start with an assistant manager. You may be talking to some of the sales staff in the branch and so on. But remember, that's part and parcel of getting to that ultimate goal. Focus. Smart marketing and contact. Put first things first. Consistently market to your COIs. Consistent contact. So just before we get to interviewing, just go back for 1 second. Yeah. So what you want to do is you're constantly in contact with them. You're constantly marketing to them. You're constantly keeping them abreast of how you're going. You're constantly asking them how it's going with them and in your developments along your career path. And with today's technology, we do it by email, text, social contact. Just one thing to keep in mind, especially with the contact. Again, with technology, texting and email and so on, we have to be cognizant of going back to our first impressions, because sometimes we're not actually seeing the person as we keep that contact. It's very, very important that we're conscious of how our text messages are getting across, how our email messages are getting across, because that center of influence is going to continue to build on what their perception of you is. So just be cognizant of that. Keep track of your efforts, success, and plan the next step. So going back to our analogy, well, I want to build a network in the financial service industry because that's where I want to work. My end goal is to finally meet 3 bank managers. Well, today I met one of the financial advisors who I was able then to arrange an appointment with the assistant bank manager who so on and so forth. So keep track of where you're going, because you use that as leverage and you use that as building block to get to the ultimate goal. Be generous in your approach. Give first. Openness to give value just as important as what you get from the COI. So in other words, yes, I'm looking at gathering this network, putting it together to reach an ultimate goal, but going back to the fact that it's a mutual beneficial relationship. Be open to giving first. So what can I do for you or your organization or your group and so on? Because what that does is that kind of starts to break the ice where we are giving as compared to, well, this is what I want and this is what I want from you, or I'm going to take from you. Think win-win. Positive winning attitude for both. Mutually agreed upon objective. Define the value that you bring. You're both there to win, or all your members in the network are there to win. Again, it goes back to that mutual benefit. Be specific on the value and how you will both come out a winner. Seek to trust, to understand. Seek COIs that have the same standards, ethics as you. This builds trust. Your trust in them and them in you comes from mutually agreeable ethics, morals, ways of doing business, objectives. That's very, very important in a relationship. You want to make sure that as you develop your centers of influence and your network, you share those commonalities and you build that trust. Show appreciation. Continually show appreciation. So once it has happened, or even if it does not happen on the first attempt, appreciate or show appreciation to a potential networking or center of influence that they did take the time. It is small things like that that go a long way. Synergize, bring both your strengths to bear in the results, cooperation, how you can both come together. It's a synergy. It's a coming together of a mutual relationship. Sharpen the saw. Think aggressively to find COIs. Learn from your past errors. What did work? What didn't work? If it didn't work, why didn't it work? Let me try a different approach. If it did work, let's try it again, and think differently in the approaches that you take to building them. Okay, next there, please. Interviewing and finding. Now, there are specific things that you want to do in actually starting to talk to. Once you've determined your goal, you've set your criteria, you've set up meetings and so on, there are some specific techniques to interviewing or talking to that COI. Again, set the stage, open conversation. Now that may be over a coffee, that could be in their place of business, it could be in a social environment, again, depending on the background of the COI. Conduct a conversation. Be prepared with questions. Be prepared with answers. Be prepared to talk a little bit about yourself in the framing of the beneficial relationship that you hold, that you want to hold. Build credibility. Key important during that interviewing or that discussion process, because keep in mind that individual that you want to bring into your network, they are interviewing you as much to bring you into their network. So credibility is important. Gain ongoing commitment. Establish your commitment to them and their commitment to you. You want to commit that if this relationship does come to fruition, you're committed to holding your high standards. You're committed to valuing the relationship. And there's nothing wrong with asking for their commitment. Is it okay if I give you a call maybe once a month? Or is it okay if we can chat maybe every other week and so on? You want to get their commitment as well. What it does, by you first offering your commitment, it binds that relationship, and it makes it much easier for them to offer their commitment. Act on the insight of the referral. Follow through on the referral that was provided by your COI. Provide and thank the COI with feedback and appreciation. So during that process, and as that relationship builds, and you do establish this network, and we start seeing benefits from it, it is very important to show that appreciation and follow through. If you had committed to do something, follow through, especially in the area of the mutual reciprocal value for both of you. So I'll give you an example. In the process of establishing a brand new associate center of influence, and they gave me their commitment that they were going to do something that we had asked for, that we thought we'd both benefit from. Well, they didn't keep their end of the bargain. How do you think I felt? Going back to credibility, very, very difficult, very, very difficult. That impression that I had, or that was built and so on, was broken. And you may think, well, okay, I'm not going to use that COI anymore. I didn't really get much value from it, so it's not that important. Well, that COI or that member of that networking probably knows another 5, 10, 15, 20 other people that you may come into contact with, or that you would like someday to reach out to. And if those commitments aren't kept, that first impression isn't made. Because keep in mind, especially in the financial service industry, it is a very, very small industry. So though my centers of influence are going to be more or less, if not identical, to some of your centers of influence. And we share ideas. We share our interactions. We share some of the conversations with the people we meet. And thanking them and so on is very, very important. Okay, so everything is going perfect. Well, it doesn't always go perfect. Mistakes to avoid. Again, we're human beings, and we're dealing with other human beings, so things are going to happen. But if we have a bit of an idea of some of the things that we can hopefully avoid, it sets the stage for the likelihood of being successful in developing a network and keeping the network. It's very important to build relationships and to avoid some of the common errors. Expecting to receive benefit from the very first meeting. You know what? you and I are going to build a relationship, and this is the benefit that I want from this relationship from day one. Oops. No. It takes time. Don't set the expectation too high, because you actually run the risk of portraying a selfishness type of attitude. So credibility goes out the window. What's in it for me as compared to a win-win. Don't talk about your expectations right away. Now, you do have an ultimate goal in mind, and there's nothing wrong with articulating certain aspects of the goal, but be very careful that you're not demanding or asking or expecting a full-blown beneficial relationship from the very beginning. It takes time. I've built an extensive centers of influence and network in the Vaughan area, well, actually in the New York region, but it has taken me about almost 35 years to do that. Demonstrate how you'll add value, build that trust we talked about, start off slow. Not asking about the COI's business and the relationship with other centers of influence or other network in the beginning. You want to have a very basic knowledge, and there's nothing wrong with asking about some basic information about them, although with the idea of that you've gone in prepared, you should already have a bit of background on that network that you want to establish. But you don't want to get too personal, obviously. You don't want to dig too deep and find out about their business right up front, because again, it's still in that trust mode and process. So you want to take it one step at a time. Another common mistake, not clearly communicating your value proposition. This is a big one. I can bring value to this relationship, but I don't communicate it in a manner that my center of influence or my network participant is understanding it or grasping that value. And you've got to be careful, because sometimes in bringing your value proposition to a networking opportunity can come across arrogant. It can come across as a know-it-all. So you want to be very, very cognizant of the way your value proposition is articulated. And more importantly, you want to make sure that the recipient is hearing it in the method and the tone and the purpose in which you articulate it. So not clearly communicating your value proposition is a huge mistake. Forgetting to follow through on meetings or commitments and so on. We talked about that this is a process. So I'm meeting a potential center of influence or an individual that I want to build a network with, and we decide, well, okay, let's meet again next Thursday at Tim Hortons, and then I don't follow up. Or any other commitment that you've made to them, and then all of a sudden there's no follow-up, there's no apology if something has come up and so on. So following up on that commitment is very, very important. Making the relationship only about referrals, collaborative working together for a common goal. A lot of times, and this goes back to the value, the proposition, and not asking about the COI's business. Yes, your ultimate goal is to achieve whatever it is, in this case, to finding employment. But remember, relationships are not always singularly focused. So because that comes across, in other words, that comes across that you're only using me basically to achieve your goal. It comes across, it will turn a COI or a networking member off. You want to show that, again, the collaboration between the two. Develop a real partnership. Now, that doesn't, mutual interest and so on. And like I said in the beginning, you could have some of your COIs or members of your network become personal relationships. Be careful about crossing that line between personal and business, but also be careful that you're not coming across self-centered, that I'm in this for only one reason, and that's it, because it's going to come through and the credibility is going to take a hit. Continuing a relationship that does not produce results. Ultimately, not all your relationship efforts, not all your networking efforts, not all your COI opportunities are going to be fruitful. It's a fact of life that if it turns out that there are no common goals, no common interests, the chemistry is just wrong, don't delay it. It's not going to go away. Deal with it professionally, end the relationship. It's very tricky, but it is much better than continuing along the path that could deteriorate even further. And what ends up happening is that center of influence that you wanted to bring within your circle, as they start becoming more frustrated, they start telling more people and so on and so forth, and then it can just skyrocket. So we're human beings, we hate conflict. We want to help people, we want everyone to like us and so on. Well, not everyone's going to like us. Not everyone's going to be able to, we're not going to be able to build these relationships with anyone. And the tendency is to put it off and put it off and put it off. No. You professionally, courteously, you may have to end the relationship and never badmouth a past COI or a past relationship. Oh boy, I met with him last week and he was totally useless. I thought he was going to help me get a job in the banking industry. Boy, he is useless. Well, because you never know who that person that you're talking to, how many other people he knows in turn knows that center of influence that you just badmouth. Okay. So how do I become a center of influence? Very, very important, because you bring value to the relationship. And as you start to begin your career and so on, people are going to look to you as becoming centers of influence and helping along the way or building in their network. Get out there. Get out into the community. Join different organizations. Think differently about which organizations you join. Introduce yourself to community leaders. How many of us have gone out, walked around our community and introduced ourselves to the local businesses in our area? How many of us have gone out and met our local politicians? How many of us have gone out and met some of the local charitable organizations or social organizations that are out there? You've got to get out there. That's how you become a center of influence. And at the same time, you're building your center of influence. Be visible. When you are attending social events, well, let's say networking events, this is something that just blows my mind. We're at a social event, a business social event. It's there for networking, and you see that there's two people in the corner all night talking to each other. They came together there, and they just stand there all night. They're talking to each other. They're afraid or they're reluctant to get out there and network, to get out there and talk to people. Okay? You and I go to a business social networking function as colleagues. I know you already. I'm not going to spend all night talking to you. I'm going to be out there talking to those that I don't know, breaking that ice, and that's difficult. But once you get over that, you force yourself to do it, the benefits are incredible. So be visible. You attend other charitable organizations, as an example. They will have committee meetings. Well, they just sit there. No, make your views known. Contribute positively. Introduce yourself specifically. Again, it goes to setting a goal. You go to a networking event, make it a goal that I am going to introduce myself to 5 people that I have never met before. Know what's going on around your corner of the world. Help other people become connectors. Primary way is to help other people become centers of influence. Help them meet new people. Look, and importantly, look for opportunities to offer that type of assistance. So I want to help you become a center of influence. I want to help you become a networking member. make contacts between COIs and help them establish their credibility with your COIs. So as an example, my COI I'm going to introduce to my colleague's COI. So I'm bringing them together. I'm almost a connector of the two. It helps establish your credibility. It helps establish you as a center of influence. When you become a center of influence, you improve your standing in the community, allowing you to both impact others in a positive way, and you reap the benefits of the opportunities that will be offered to you down the road. So putting it all together, recap. The next slide. So we discussed what is a center of influence, what is a networking partner, why it's important, the benefits, how to build that network, how to interview and discuss and collaborate to get to know your COI, mistakes to avoid, and you actually becoming that center of influence. It's a whole package. And ladies and gentlemen, I've been very fortunate. I've used these methods over long periods of time, and it's very rewarding that it helps build that network. And over time, you can then draw on these people for many, many different things. Now, it's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to work as you want. But if you take those types of practices, it's going to help you achieve goals. As a connector, I've helped taking this skill set and others that are looking for employment and connecting them within the network. I've used it extensively in the business in helping my staff achieve their goals and building their centers of influence. And I can't stress enough, especially in the employment area, that this is a skill set that makes you different. This is what makes you stick out from the other 10 resumes that I'm looking at today. This is a skill set that is of value. That is something that is going to bring value to the relationship. It's no guarantee, but it will definitely improve your odds. So you get this tool under your belt. It's one more tool that you have to build on your success. So I wish you all the best of luck in developing your networks, and you know who I am, and so maybe I can be one of your networking members or one of your centers of influence. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Dino. That was, again, a very great webinar. Thank you for sharing all this advice with us. So everyone, will give you a few moments to type in your questions into the questions tab. Please make sure that they're short and concise and they're related to today's webinar. And Dino, if you want, you can turn your camera on.
Oh, okay.
And get ready to answer questions. All right, so questions are rolling in. Let's start with okay. So everyone, please make sure you're using full sentences as well. Just want to make sure that we get everyone's questions. So, how long can it take to build a new network in Canada? And how do you keep a warm connection with someone just to make that connection stronger? That's a question from Luz.
Lengthwise, it really depends. Like you can establish a very productive, robust connection within or network within a month, 2 months. Sometimes it may take years. I would say a good, robust type of network where you should start seeing some benefits, I'd say anywhere between 3 to 6 months.
I see.
Then what tends to happen is it tends to grow at a much faster pace. It's that initial building block. That's going to take some time, because then it's expanding, and it will expand at a faster pace. So, but I would say give yourself a good, 3 to 6 months or so. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
How to make the connection stronger. But then Luz also has another part question, and he wants to know, I guess, like he tells them what he's doing with his job search, and they say, whatever he's doing is right, and they'll get back to him if they know anything else.
Yeah,
So that kind of just, it's like a goodbye, I
yeah,
guess. So
fair. Well,
how is he able to maintain a conversation or a relationship moving forward?
the biggest um, the biggest mistake that we make uh, in maintaining or moving the conversation forward, especially when it comes to employment, is the value that you specifically bring. You've got to get my attention to get me into your network with a specific, unique value that you bring. And I'm going to be a little selfish here. We're going to talk about the employment side of it. In today's financial service industry, fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have the time that we used to have. So
Yes.
when I'm interviewing a client, or sorry, when I'm interviewing a prospective employee, I need to know upfront in the beginning the specific value that they bring, specific, the unique value. And it's the exact same thing in the network. And most times what happens is when I don't perceive that value in you, I'm going to tell you, don't worry, I'll get back to you, or we'll meet sometime next week, or next month. 9 times out of 10, if you can position it and find that uniqueness that will bring you to me, I'm going to become a COI and I'm going to follow up with you. If you don't, I'm going to tell you, we'll talk in a month, or I'll give you a call. So it goes back to that beneficial, and it has to be specific. Dino, this is how I'm going to benefit our relationship. Because remember, I'm a human being. I'm in it as much as you are. I'm just as much looking for building a network from you as you are from me. I hope that makes sense.
I hope that answers his question as well. So Charles over here has another question, and he wants to know, how do you manage to build an effective relationship with people in the finance industry, considering their long office hours? Or just any industry. I mean, like,
In
everyone's,
any industry,
yeah.
you have to plan for it. You have to basically plan for it. You have to say, well, okay, Tuesday night, I'm going to go visit this network. I'm going to get involved in this particular activity. You basically have to be that granular about it. Remember the setting the goal. In the financial service industry, there are a lot of industry events that are happening in the evening. One very popular one is very, very early morning breakfasts. Now, I know that's a little bit difficult, but we have guest speakers coming out all the time. As a matter of fact, our marketing department always has them at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So you think of it as an investment. Think of it as an investment. You're losing a half hours of sleep, but I'm investing in building that COI. And you have to stick to it. You have to say, I'm going to go. I'm going to go. One other thing that works as well, you're right, we're all starved for time, but if you identify a relationship that you want to build or a network member, is make an appointment. Make an actual appointment to see them. So you want to meet a bank manager as an example. They're very, very busy. When can I meet them? Give them a call. Dino, I'd like to come in and meet you for 10 minutes. When is the best time that you have available? Sonia, I'm available next Thursday at 11:15. Now I know that I've actually put that time away, and you have put that time away. And then very focused, very focused.
Yeah, and make sure that you're using up just 10 to 15 minutes, not more than the time.
Exactly, absolutely. That goes to commitment. All I want is 10 minutes. Can I come to see you for 10 minutes? I commit not to take longer than that. Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And everyone wants to know if you will receive a recording. Yes, today's webinar was recorded, and you will receive a recording a few hours after the webinar ends. So not to worry if you've missed the beginning, and is here to answer questions anyway. A question from Gauri is, what suggestions do you have for people who have not had good networking practices in the past? And this includes social media as well.
If you have not had, keep trying. Don't get discouraged. There is no magic. There's no magic formula. Taking again, hopefully what we talked about today will give you some insights, but do not give up. That's the
Thank
biggest
you.
thing. It's very discouraging, but don't give up.
Yeah, like if you're
And
reaching
so,
out to, sorry, go ahead,
I didn't
Dino.
part about. Well, I didn't hear the part about the social media.
So she was saying, even networking on social media as well, like using LinkedIn or Facebook.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't give up. Just be careful with social media because you see how you can see me. So my communication is both verbally, but it's also visually. Social media, sometimes you can't. So be
It's
very
all
careful.
it's all written, so you can't see the person's body language. You can't read the other
Correct.
person, their
Correct.
energy. So
Yep.
you can't see their personality. So yeah, those things affect it as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Dino. The next question I have is from Nemika, and she wants to know, how can one be able to know where and when local community social events are happening?
Local, which type of events? I'm sorry.
Like community social events, so like networking events, people getting together.
Yeah. One in the business world or in the finance, what I would do is I would check your small business what do they call it? Your small business associations in your neighborhood. If you go into, as an example here in Vaughan, if you go into the Vaughan City Hall, you will see when the local businessmen's association meets. Uh, One other real proven method is if you take a walk around your block and you look at some of the businesses that are there. If you actually go in to talk to the owners, the businesses know who are the movers and shakers in a certain community. They'll be able to tell you, you walk into a store and say, well, I'm looking at getting to familiarize myself with the neighborhood and the business here. And you'll be surprised. Well, you know what? Joe down at the Petro Canada, he really takes a lot of interest in what the Businessmen's Association here does. Why don't you go talk to him? Oh, okay. Is it okay if I tell him you? Absolutely. So you walk down to the Petro Canada, and he's the local mover and shaker in the community. Oh, you interested in coming next Thursday? We're having our small business association meeting. Here it is. So you've got to think differently. Social groups, faith organizations. If you're in a condominium corporations. So think different. Think different. But
Thank
get to know
you.
your corner of the world. Get to know your corner of the world.
Mara Vasquez has a question here. Can you clarify the point about if we should communicate our value proposition again?
The value proposition basically means this is what I bring. This is the value that I have, and this is the value that I can bring to the relationship. So an example of my value proposition, Mrs. Smith, it is my pleasure to help you do your banking and look at your retirement needs. I've been in the financial service industry as a certified financial planner for the last 25 years. Through my vast experience of dealing with clients similar as yourself, I'm here to help you accomplish your goals and use my skill set to help you achieve that end, period. That's an example of it. What do I specifically bring to you? I just happen to use it as a customer, but it's that value proposition and what you bring to the ultimate goal of networking, building a network, or a center of influence. Does that help?
I think the concern here is that most of our viewers are newcomers, and they don't have a network here. They feel like they don't have a lot to offer in return for
Yep.
when they're
They, yeah.
networking. So what is it something that they can say that kind of gives them that leverage to network?
Well, actually, it's not that I want to disagree, but our new Canadians have an advantage over us. Actually, our new Canadians come from rich, old, established cultures. The biggest value that they bring is their cultural differences. We are a growing country and we need those types of aspects. So the biggest thing that a new Canadian brings is their business sense, their business culture, their way of doing things from another country. And that is hugely important, especially in the different ethnic communities around Toronto. It's incredible. It's incredible. I'll give you an example. I was very fortunate. I was born here, but I did study Italian and fluent in it. One of the biggest things for me was that I was able to bring the Italian culture into specific markets or building specific networks. That's the way of doing business. So when we're coming from Asia, China, and so on, that is hugely, hugely important. And that's what you've got. And that's part of the value proposition. There's the value. There's that value that I bring to it. So in other words, Dino, I notice here you're operating a branch in a predominantly ethnic community. I am from that background. I take pride in the fact that I'm able to relate to the way people do business with those types of background. I'm very comfortable in it. I've had successes with it, and I hope to use that to translate into being successful and contributing to the growth of your branch or whatever. Does that make
Thank you.
sense?
I think that helps a lot of people here. I should just like skip through all the questions now. So, well, another question I have from Rafi is, how do you find the points of mutual interest when you are looking for work?
Well, okay. If I'm looking for work in the banking industry, what do you think what do you think one of my interests is going to be? If you want to develop me as a COI, right? And I'm in the bank, what do you think one of my interests is going to be? Banking. I work with the Royal Bank. What's going to my interest going to be? Well, my interest is going to probably be Royal Bank. Now, it may not be yours. The Royal Bank may not be your particular point, but the point is you want to get into the financial service industry. Chances are there's a mutual connection right there because I'm already in the industry. So, Dino, thank you for seeing me today. I know that Royal Bank is very active in the community and so on and so forth. I'm very interested in some of the new guidelines that are coming through in the financial service industry and whatever. Okay, but look at what they're back. Do a little bit of research, and then start off slowly. That's probably the best way.
Thank you. So yes, Wendt has a question here. When I network, people look at my profile and say you've got really good experience and expertise, and he's getting a lot of screening calls, but he can't get to an interview.
Yep.
But he just wants to know, like, what is it that he's missing? Like, why can't he get an interview if people, are saying good things about his profile, his resume?
Are they but they are actually talking to them on the phone? They're
Yeah, he's getting
screening
phone
through, but they
calls.
can't get,
Yes.
but then they can't get to the actual. Something's not clicking on that phone conversation. That's not catching the interviewer's attention.
Mm-hmm.
Something, what I don't know, but something is not clicking. What I would do is do the same mock interview with someone else, practice it, and then get feedback from them. Something
So,
isn't clicking. They're
yeah,
not
so I
making
mean,
that connection.
exactly. So the best thing you can do is either talk to a friend, do a mock interview with a friend. If you
Absolutely,
have an employment
absolutely,
service provider in your area, if Access is close to you,
absolutely,
you can come into any one of our offices and we're more than happy to help you.
absolutely.
Um,
One
so
one other thing. one other quick thing that I can think of, if you're not successful, don't be shy, and there's nothing wrong with asking why. So you and I are doing, you're interviewing me, and I don't get a second interview. First of all, Sonia, thank you very much for taking your time. I really appreciate that. This is a learning experience for me. I can see that you're very knowledgeable in that area. Could you give me maybe some advice on how I can better refine those skills? Period. There's nothing wrong with that. Ask.
Thank you. All right, so Silva here has a question. You mentioned to give first in the first contact when building the COI. That means listen to the others' experiences and try to get. Sorry, I'm not really understanding the question here. Maybe if you can better frame it, I can ask the question for you. All right, we've got another question here. When contacting managers who are at a higher level than ours, than your current level of experience, Lynn finds it difficult to find unique points that you can contribute to the connection. Sorry about that. Do you have any suggestion of how they can approach to start the relationship?
So if I understand the
Someone who's
question,
at
how
a
do you
higher
find,
level, I guess.
so they want to build a relationship with a higher level, the next step
Yeah.
up, basically. So, okay, I want to make sure I understand the question. So they've built a relationship with my assistant manager, and they've included my assistant manager in the network, but now they want to start including me as the manager. Is that the basis of the question?
Yeah, I think so.
How do I then take the next step and find the common connection? Ask my assistant manager. Dino, Sonia, what kinds of things are of interest or that I can bring of benefit to Dino? Ask. If it's really a senior person, obviously you can do a LinkedIn search and so on and so forth. There is no easy way. Use the stepping stone. So as an example, if you want to meet me or get me into your network, but you've already met my assistant manager, ask my assistant manager about me. Ask how can I bring value to when I'm interacting with Dino? What are kinds of things that I can help contribute to the relationship?
Perfect. All right. So I think Luz wants to know. So Luz, we have workshops at ACCES that help you with mock interviews. We help you with your job search. We help you with resume writing, interview tips. So all of that. So if you are close to any of our locations, come by and a consultant will be working with you, and you can attend any one of our workshops as well. And yes, we do have workshops on networking as well. So come in person and then we can tell you more. We also have a lot of networking events here at ACCES. And I mean, I think we have a few events going on every single day. My mailbox is just filled with invites to all these events that we do. So there's lots and lots of different networking, especially with RBC. We do a lot of events. We go to their branches as well, or they come to our offices. So with different employers, different people, alumni. We do tons of events every day. So, you can come into our office and you can sign up, ask about these events, or you can follow us on our social media. And, a lot of our events are posted there as well. Not all of them, but many of them. And bridging programs, people are asking about bridging programs. Yes, we do have bridging programs at ACCES, and we do have our financial services bridging program that Dino works closely with, and he's RBC works very closely with as well, and Dino's going to be coming in as well, right, Dino?
Yes,
So yeah, so you can check those out. They're sector specific. Again, please check out our website. I mean, there's tons of information you can check out over there. And when's the next networking event? Check out our website. Check out our LinkedIn. You should be able to see it over there as well. There's so many. I mean, I can't tell you. We have so many every day that come up. So thank you all for listening and asking those very important questions. I'm sure that people didn't have to ask because other people were asking. And thank you so much for answering them so flawlessly that we were able to move ahead to the next question. Thank you so much, everyone.
My pleasure.
Would you like to say anything before I move forward?
First of all, I want to thank you guys. ACCES is doing a phenomenal job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, take advantage of the services. Again, it's another network, and I want to thank you very much. I hope we've been able to add a little bit of value to it, and I wish you much success. You know who I am. There's your COI.
Perfect, thank you. And
Again.
you can connect with Dino on LinkedIn, and yeah, he's happy to answer. But just let him know where you got his contact from, and what is it that he said that clicked to you, and you want to talk about that with him. So please let him know when you do send the invite to him. And ACCES is all about networking. I feel like the reason why we make such a big difference with our clients and employers is through networking. So we're all about networking. And if you want to know more, again, check out our website and check out our social media to see where we're holding the next event. And if you're working closely with an employment consultant at ACCES, then at least you'll be getting emails as well and you can subscribe. Go to our website and subscribe so you'll get it in your email as well. If you're watching our webinars, you should be getting subscription emails which tell you about events that are coming up. We try not to bombard your inbox. So again, check on your own discretion as well. You can check out ACCES on our website. So if you go on our website, click on ACCES. Over here, you can see different tools and articles and videos and past webinars that we've posted on how to build a better resume, interview skills, networking skills, how to maintain a job, Canadian workplace, business communication, tons of things are up there. So check those out as well. And add us on Instagram. We are active on our social media on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and now we are also on Instagram. So please follow us. We're starting to post video tips all on there as well every Friday. So you can, if you're not sick of me yet, you can see me on there as well. And follow us. So we will be posting, any updates that are happening at ACCES. You can check out our story on there as well. So it's a good way to stay in touch with us. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Dino, again, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week. And Dino, we'll see you towards the end of the month.
Thank you. Take care. Good luck.